Let's begin rigging the thoracic limbs. This will be done very similar to our pelvic limb rig. So we'll get started by moving over to our side view and we'll grab our bone tools. We're going to create our scapula last, so let's go ahead and start with the others in this chain. So we'll start at the humerus. Then following that we have the radius, so this would represent the forearm of a human. Then we have our metacarpal, and then we have the two past stern bones, and then finally our hoof. Alright, so exiting create bones, let's go in and check each bone's pivot. We can go ahead and use bone edit mode to make some adjustments. I might grab the radius root and go ahead and start to move that forward just a little bit more. I think the humerus is in a good spot, as well as the metacarpal. Let's go ahead and check the past sterns. Okay, so if anything, I might want to grab past stern A and move that forward just a little bit more. That's good. And then the hoof, let's go ahead and bring that nub down to the base. Okay, great. Alright, so we're good to go here. Let's say we move over to our perspective view. We'll grab all of our bone objects and store them in our bones layer. And the nub, we know, gets added to objects to hide. At this point, we can go ahead and grab our humerus bone and use that to center this chain inside of our leg geometry. Okay, great. I'll now go through and start to rename these. So this first one here, the root bone, is BNL humerus 01. The next is the radius. And then the metacarpal. And then following that, we have the two past sterns. So let's make sure we add our suffix FT. So that's going to be past stern FT underscore A 01. I'll go ahead and copy the name and use that to rename the next. Okay, and then finally we have our hoof nub. So that's BE L hoof FT 01. Okay, great. So at this point, we're ready to create our scapula bone, and it's just like our extra pelvis bone we've added. So let's go ahead and move over to our front view. We'll grab our bones tool, and we'll create a bone object. And now we can move back over to our perspective view. We'll grab the root and have that quick snap to the end of our vertebrae, so one of these objects at the very end. And now entering bone edit mode, we'll grab our nub object, and we can go ahead and quick align that to our humerus. Okay, great. So at this point, we can go in and rename these objects. Now the scapula we will skin to, and we'll cover a really neat weight painting technique to make sure we get some good volume as the scapula deforms. It's kind of tricky on a horse, so we'll make sure we get it just right so we have some nice creasing. Alright, so at that point, again, we'll go through and rename these. So that's going to be BNL scapula 01. And of course, the end nub will be BE L scapula. Alright, great. So we will need to add those objects to our layers. So let's go ahead and start with the scapula root. that gets added to bones, and the nub gets added to objects to hide. All right, so at this point, we're ready to work on some linking. So let's go ahead and link our scapular root to our thorax null. Great. And then, of course, the humerus, we'll want that linked to the scapular root. I'll hit the page up key a few times just to check the hierarchy. Great. And now we can go ahead and grab our animation control and start to rotate. Beautiful. So there we have it, the thoracic limb for the left leg. We're now ready to stop the lesson, and in the next lesson we will work on mirroring this rig.